Hello, this video is going to be a brief introduction on how to use the time slider feature of ArcMap. So first off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign on to ArcGIS Online so that I can access data that I want to use that has a time component to it. Now that I signed into ArcGIS Online, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get data for earthquakes in Oklahoma. So here I am gathering that data from ArcGIS Online, and my search terms are going to be Oklahoma, and earthquakes. So this is the data I want. I'm going to add that. And now I have the data that I want to use. This all is data that has historic earthquakes from 2005 to 2009 and 2010 to 2015. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a shapefile which has the data that I'm going to use for the time slider. So I'm going to take the earthquakes 2005-2009, and what I'm going to do is export that data. I want to get from the entire data frame, and what I want to call this is Oklahoma earthquakes 2005-2009. And so yes, I'm going to add that in. And now you see that I now have the little dots within the green dots over here, because I've now created a shapefile that takes the same data as the earthquakes 2005-2009. I'm going to turn these off because I'm not going to be using those. And what I want to do is I want to go ahead and take this information, go to the properties, and I want to look at making the symbols, instead of just little green dots over here, is I want to have it as graduated symbols just like I had previously. So I'm going to do that based off of my magnitude. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my template is use the color red. And so now I have, based upon the magnitude of the earthquake, or size going larger and larger as the magnitude of the earthquake gets larger. So I'm going to apply that and click OK. And now you see my information. This is what I'm going to use in the time slider. What I want to take a look at though is my attribute table. Now I have over here, here's my shapes are all points. Here's the time that it occurred, latitude and longitude for all the earthquakes. I move this all the way over to the right. I have a date field. I want to make sure this is actually date and not a text field. I'm going to do a right click, look at properties, and indeed it is a date field. So I'm okay with that, and get rid of this table. And now I'm ready to go ahead and do the time slider. To do the time slider, I'm going to do a right click over here again, come down to properties, and in here you'll see that in the tabs I have one for time, and I'm going to enable this on the enable time on this layer. And over here what I have is I've got the field of date. I could have picked another one, but this is the date information I want. It is in the field context of being just year. I'm going to do it in intervals of 1 year. And when I do that, I need it to calculate the years that I'm going to do the time slider for, and this is between 2005 and 2009. It has calculated a step interval of 2 months, and what I can do is I can accumulate the data, put it in there cumulatively. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. As it shows each of the earthquakes, it's going to keep those on the display. So now I have selected all the information I need to. I could adjust for a time zone if I wanted to, but at this point I don't need to. So what I'm going to do is click Apply and OK. And what you should have seen this time slider went from being grayed out to being displayed. So now I have the time slider is now active. With the time slider being active, I can click on it, and over here I do have, here's my starting point of 1/1/2005. You see that I only have 2 earthquakes being displayed because they're the only ones that occurred in 2005. I come over here to Properties, my options, click on that. I can change my display based on the time zone, how many months or years, whatever I want as far as the interval. I can look at the time extent from, this is going from January 1st of 2005 to the beginning of 2009. I could look at the playback and change the speed, and I can also look at the transparency, and if I want to make this a little bit lighter, I can do that, or a little bit darker. And if I click OK, this is so that you can see what's going on in the background. Now that I have done that, if I click over here, this should start to go ahead and play, and you see the months going across. And now that 2006 has come up, I have more earthquake data points and more being added as the time progresses. As a view of time slider, I can make some changes to that. If instead of having everything being displayed as it comes up, I come over here, go back to my properties, and here I have it display data cumulatively, so I'm going to now turn that off. Click OK, and now I'm going to restart this, move the time slider all the way back, and again now I have my initial 2 earthquakes that occurred in 2005, and as I play it going forward, that as I change years, these ones in 2005 will disappear and the ones in 2006 will pop up. So that concludes our brief introduction to Time Slider. You can use this for a variety of other applications where you have date information along with some feature that you want to animate.